Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district.
And I'm her producer and husband, Fuzz Martin.
Hello.
What's happening? I have to tell you, before we get started, that the show Emily's Wonder Lab on Netflix is fantastic. It's cute. It's fun.
It's sciencey.
Our child who watches it, it's sciencey. Our child who watches it wants to perform all of the science experiments and wants to be sciencey, and it's very easy and fun to watch. And they're short episodes. They're like 12 minutes long. Yep. You can watch a whole season in like
a day.
Yeah.
And well, she's 5. She's going into kindergarten. She's in kindergarten here. She wanted to build a tornado in her bedroom today.
Yes.
And not like messy. Like I thought, like, oh, I'm going to be a tornado and tear apart my bedroom. That's not what she meant.
She wanted to build like a diagram.
No,
a diagram.
She wanted to turn on her fan and have cold air and hot air meet. Like she was explaining it to me, and I was like, wow, I'm thrilled that you are learning so much. No, we're not going to be building a tornado in your bedroom.
Yes, I recall you saying, well, first of all, I don't have a fog machine.
Yes, that's what I started with. But cool show.
I'm happy to see you're excited for science, and it's a very fun show. So,
yeah, agreed. We did do some. She wanted to make soap, but really it was vinegar and baking soda with food coloring in a dropper. And she's like, I'm making soap. I'm like, I think that's basically just a volcano, but sure.
Yeah.
And she sat there a good half an hour dropping
little
drips of vinegar.
We used apple cider vinegar, and it stank.
It was smelly.
And
but we had like 5 gallons.
She didn't care.
So.
She was playing. So.
Yeah. So any way to keep busy at this point, learning is good in all formats.
Good. Enthusiastic learning is better.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and unprompted, like hands-on learning is cool. We are, this week, we're in episode 64. Made it through the first week of school for me. You know?
Here we are.
Here we are. Survived. We're good. All is well. Everyone's still pretty upbeat. It's nice to see the kids. You know, it's good to see faces. So, we're talking about math manipulatives because we're doing a lot of online stuff. I'm supporting a lot of staff. And you know what? This might be becoming a shocker to people, but if you're working online, not everybody can have a set of number blocks. No one does their 100, their tens, hundreds, thousands number blocks.
Yeah.
And because kids can't really be in each own space, like there's no hands-on manipulatives in the classroom.
Right.
Because even if you have kids in your classroom and you're not online, you still can't touch stuff. Everything is individualized. I've never had so many kids have so many things that they have to have because you all have to have your own. There's no sharing of supplies. So I was trying, when I've been sharing with staff, like, oh, these are cool tools that you can use. They're free, and you can use them however you need to with students, like say on iPads or Chromebooks in your classroom, or if they're at home or you're doing full online learning, or if you're doing a combination, these math tools are helpful. And not just, and I kept thinking like, oh, elementary, middle school. No, like these are helpful for high school teachers too. Anyone who's working with numbers and needs some hands-on stuff that can't be hands-on, these are some great sites for you. So first one, it comes from the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. So if you haven't already, I'm sure a lot of our math teachers are on nctm.org, but any teacher can use these sites, and these are very helpful for not just math things, but science, or if you've got some engineering or some building things going on. So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. But
maybe you have kids at home and need to help teach them.
That's you? Like, yes.
Like your own kids?
Yes.
Your own personal
children, or supporting.
The ones you claim on your taxes.
College kiddos who have stepped in because they can't be at school right now, who have stepped in to help families. So whoever you got.
Great.
If you need some hands-on mathy things, here you go. So nctm.org/classroom resources.
Yeah, there's a
/illumination/interactive/dynamic-paper/.
If you go to the nctm.org, click on classroom resources, and then you can
You'll find it.
You'll get in there from there.
And we'll put the link on our site so you can see it.
Yes.
So,
otherwise, there's lots of dashes and capitalization and things that you need to worry about.
So there's a million features here. The one I picked out, it's called Dynamic Paper. What is cool about this is you can pull this up. So as like, say you're doing a screencast or something and you need to give students like a shape. So say we want to do we can do like graph paper, and if you want grids, and you can add coordinates to there if you want to. Or if you just, I'm in the drop down in the upper left hand corner. You could do number grids, and you can do tessellations, and you can do, bless you,
thank you,
shapes. So let's pick shapes, and I want color tiles, and I pick my sides and my length, and then I click the add button, and it gives me my color tiles exactly as I set them up. What's cool is then you have an eraser, you have a variety of tools if you're going to paint them different colors, if you're going to add text and directions and things like that. So you can add all the shapes. There's number lines, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. What's nice is you can set this up. If you're explaining this to students, you can walk them through the whole process of how you do it. Then you have the option to download this as a PDF or a JPEG. And it literally makes what you just created in the sheet basically into like an interactive worksheet, or like a sheet that you can then use wherever you need to.
Yeah.
So if you're doing number lines with students, you could create it in the dynamic paper, set everything up. You can print it or PDF it, share it off with your students in Google Classroom, or walk through as a class in like Google Meet if you're going through and doing an explanation with your students. So it's really great for setting your students up with explanations, and you can make your example problems as you're talking to the students. And so they can see like the different numbers that are going to go into it. So you're, however you're going to set it up. And then they actually get their own copy of it. So it can do graph paper and number lines and grids and tessellations and shapes and spinners. And then there's like a full toolbar that has, you can erase the things you messed up. There's a paint border, there's increase, decrease text. You can change the colors of different parts of the shapes that you've put in there, so that way you can differentiate for different problems. So it's really cool because you can like set it all up online. You can be explaining to it while you're setting it up online as part of your lesson, and then you can share the PDF or the JPEG with your students, and then they can practice their examples by watching you set it all. I know, I thought it was a very cool tool.
Or let's say you're working virtually, and you have a student that needs some help. You can walk through a problem with that student, and then when you're done, share off the example that you just worked through, and then they have it. And so even if it's not to the whole class, it could be for those students who need help getting through one certain thing.
Exactly. And like I should explain too, like you're going to explain through, once you PDF it, then you can write on it like with our digital whiteboard tools like we talked about last week, and upload it as an image or something like that if you want to, using a JPEG. So the actual writing of it, you could use it in a Jamboard or something like that. This is going to be the part where it creates the images that you want, and then from there you're able to write on it. What also is possible and kind of cool is you can share this with students, and if they are paper pencil kind of kids, and if they have a printer at home, you can share the PDF with your students, and they could print it or put it in something like Cami where they can write on it. But that way, like students, if they physically need to write something, you can create it, walk them through it, and then they can physically print it and practice it on their own if they want to too. So I just thought it was kind of a cool tool. There's a lot of options, and they have all kinds of resources at the bottom of like the ways that you can use this tool. So dynamic paper, again, National Council for Teachers of Mathematics. A long time ago, I did go to one of their conferences when I almost taught math.
When people went to conferences.
Yeah, when we actually went to places. And it's just a very cool tool. So if you're maybe not a math teacher, or if you're not going to be using it, it might be a tool that you could share out with others that are in the realm of using these types of things, because there's a lot of ways that they can use this tool.
I just made a dodecahedron.
Cool.
It's pretty slick.
Nice. And if you just want to,
I'll share it with you via PDF.
Do it.
Oh, look at that.
We'll put it on the site.
It just, oh, that's pretty neat. It's even got a place for me to put my name on it.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it.
Good. We'll upload yours. We'll use yours as an example this time.
Thanks, NCTM.
Nice. All right. Our next site is called Didax. And really, this is one of those, where I sometimes find freebies.
Yeah, like the one where we had the building company that makes buildings.
Yeah, but we're able to build barns with their 3D software.
Yeah, or like Rogue Fitness, where it's like a gym builder.
Yeah, and we're setting up how to pay for things. Yeah. So
what does Didax make?
So it's educational supplies.
Okay.
So supplies for education, books, counters, kits.
Okay,
learning kits. Yeah. Eureka math kits.
So these manipulatives. Thank you. Manipulatives. I just went with it when I realized I had marbles in my mouth. I just laid the hammer down and thought it'd be
embraced it.
But it looks like they created these, unlike the tools we were using that were for business people, and we're just saying, hey, why don't you just go here and build a house and get the square feet and all that stuff. This one, it looks like they've made these ad-free tools to help students purposefully. So it's not like we're using an ordering system and not ordering. Yeah.
Exactly. And it even says here, these are always free to you and will continue to be available through the 2021 school year. So you have a full school year to use these. So what's cool, they have instructions. They even have activities, how to use these math manipulatives. I keep saying math because they're usually math, but you could use these in other areas. So they have Unifix cubes. I was playing with these the other day. You literally click on the Unifix cubes. Then you start stacking up the colors. Just like the real ones that you have in your classroom, where everyone makes swords out of them and then they try and crash them together and then they fall all over the floor and it's the best thing ever. Students can do the same thing here. No. So what's cool is it's a set of cubes. So they can do their number cubes. They can do their sorting. They can make patterns. Students can use those for virtually anything. They've got 10 frames, which is great. It's very simple setup. You can add your 10 frame. You can turn it different ways. You can add the red and yellow. And then if you click the little plus button, it'll add more into there. And you can set students up this way. If you are studying, there's so many options. It's hard to pick. Let's say you need geoboards. To me, this is better than using, I love a hands-on tool. However, geoboards in a middle school classroom are basically, I would say middle school. I'd say 4th grade on up. Probably anytime a kid gets a geoboard and a pack of rubber bands, it's just setting you up for someone losing an eye.
Losing their privileges for the rest of the day, at least.
So what's cool is these geoboards, you've got 5 colors of pretend rubber bands, and then you have circles or squares, and you're able to go through and make your shapes, and you don't have to worry about anybody losing a face or part or finger or rubber band shooting across your room. They also have prime factor tiles, which is awesome, and you can just pick your numbers and go through your equations with students. So if you scroll through here, they have a ton of tools and even have dice if you're going to have students count with dice and do probability, or even if you need to figure group stuff out, they can do that. There's spinners. There's just so many options. So these tools, again, they're free for this full school year, and students can't be touching manipulatives this year. So somehow you got to get them digitally. This is nice because you don't have to put an app on your phone. You don't have to do anything. Students can access them from any tablet, any like Chromebook, anything that they have, because they're right on their website. So diadex.com/math/virtual manipulatives is where you head. And they even put activities in there for different ideas, because I know at this point, I don't know about you guys, but I know we're at the start of the year, but everyone's brains are kind of all over the place. So if someone's going to set me up with some extra activities and tools, thank you. I appreciate it. So Diadex, check out those manipulatives, all kinds of ways that you can use it in your classroom.
Yeah, pretty cool. And yeah, it looks like you said, it's something, if they've got a Chromebook in front of them and they can, they're not going to be able to touch manipulatives. They can use any.
Even as a teacher, you can project those manipulatives onto your smartboard or onto your screen, whatever you have in front of your room. And even though students can't be touching them, they're blown up, they're bigger. So I know that's easier for them to see, because I don't know about your classrooms. My classroom, like, kids are really spread out, so they're further away from my board and further away from seeing things. So that would be a way to project large images onto your board as well. So there's that. Our last site is kind of similar to Diadex. This is called mathlearningcenter.org. And then you do /resources/apps. I know, I'm getting like the hidden things. You could go right to the site, but then there's other curriculum and other stuff.
If you go to mathlearningcenter.org, click resources, and then click math apps.
Yeah. But this is where it kind of throws you, because they have other things, obviously, on the site. There's lessons and programs and stuff. But so if you're there, you see like 1, 2, 3 free math apps, and then there's stuff. And then you have to scroll a little bit to get to the actual, like, this is the cool things I'm showing you. So, supports and sharing. So if we are sharing things, there are similar options, like, hey, there's another idea for a geo board. You can click on this one. Again, we don't have to worry about rubber bands flying across our classrooms. But you can choose for this one to put it on an app, or you can get it in the Apple App Store or the Chrome Store, or just open it on the web. So this site, you do have the option of putting apps on phones or tablets if you want to, which is cool, because sometimes you do just need the app put on your iPads in your classroom, so you don't have students hunting around for stuff. I totally understand that. They go through like the different features, the different related like products, things like that can go with each of the tools. I like this set of number frames because there's more options with the number frames. There are not only you pick your frame. So let's say we pick a number frame like 20. Then you've got your red dots and your blue dots, which is fine. You can load them in. But this cool little, if you go under number frames in the bottom left-hand corner, and it's this little square at the bottom, you have options. So there's ladybugs and butterflies and frogs and penguins. So you can pick and then change the color of other shapes. So your students aren't always using dots, because sometimes you lose a little interest. But if you can throw a green ladybug in there, maybe it's a Japanese type beetle. I don't know what they're called. There's all those beetles. And penguins. Anyway, so there's all kinds of flowers. Anyway, I'm like clicking around making a little like, okay, I'm done. So there's lots
that's
of
my job during this show, is to play with all the tools.
Number frame options and ways to set students up. What's also cool is when you pull up, let's say, number frames and you load in your beetles and your butterflies, across the bottom then you have a full set of tools. So you can add in, there's a calculator. You're able to add numbers. You're able to put in actual equations. There is text, and you can type in different colors. You're able to add your pens or pencils, and you're able to then share your work. So this one's kind of cool because you can save it as an image and again use it other places, or you can share it as a link. So you could have students working in here. You could maybe give them their equations separately. They could share their work in here using the different manipulatives and then email it back to you, or share it as a picture. So it's really kind of nice that you have more options of sharing out these manipulatives, more so than the other ones. But you have like number rack, you have number lines. You can do all kinds of things with these number lines, and there's lots of extra tools that go with it. There's a math vocabulary cards, there's fractions, there's money pieces, which I know that's tricky right now because you definitely don't want to be touching money, and we're short on coins around here anyway. So what's kind of cool is the money one like loads in. You have options of coins. They also give you the coins on top of like different types of tiles and cubes so they can see what the coin looks like, but then also the quantity of what the coin would look like next to each other. And then you can like have money. You can put it in little pretend pockets, which is cute. Anyway, there's just lots and lots of ways you can play around with these. And then, of course, share out your information. So, yeah, there's a lot of options with the Math Learning Center Manipulatives. And they give you lots of ways to interact with these and share them out with students, and have students share their work with you, which is really nice because I know we're kind of in this space where you want to see what your kids are doing. You want to see if they're learning, what their learning looks like. You can't do the normal, let's count coins on the table or let's use our fun little plastic money. But here you've got some digital ways of being able to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Groovy. Playing around with number pieces.
Yeah.
So
what did you make with your number lines?
Nothing fun. I'm playing with a number rack, which is kind of like it's not an abacus. It's and if there's it's a rekenrek, I think is what it's called in like Dutch. But it's kind of funny playing with a like essentially like the same, like the bar with the beads. Slide, and but you're doing it on a computer. It's like the most rudimentary, like manipulative, but you're clicking digitally and dragging it. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Nice. Cool. So we've got dynamic paper, we've got our Diadex manipulatives, and we have our Math Learning Center manipulatives. Hopefully,
all great tech tools.
Yeah, and hopefully these can help kids use manipulatives in math, even though they can't really touch anything.
Yeah.
And again, helpful online tools for if you're at home, and students need to be able to access things and get a feel for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it looks a little different. I know all of our learning looks a little different, but somehow keeping our kiddos on track the best we can.
That's what it's all about.
Cool. Well, I hope everyone's doing well and staying healthy. I know we're in this weird space. But keep in touch and shout out your ideas to me if you have them, or if you're struggling with something or you need ideas. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at SmartNWI. And if you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in the episode, visit smartnwi.com, our snazzy EdTech directory. You can share that out with others as well. New episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed here on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast are those of the author Shanna Martin and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed on this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you, as we have talked about, but we hope they do. And we'll talk to you again soon here on the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast.